I'm back. Okay, so last episode, I didn't talk a lot about Bonnie because I wanted to do some general updates on the series and, I wanted to advertise my Unveil account, which is cool. But this time, we are actually going to talk more about Bonnie. And the thing about Bonnie is, he's a morally gray character. Maybe a little bit towards the darker side of gray. But for the most part, he's a rather simple character, and it's kind of difficult to talk about him beyond a certain point because he's not necessarily written in extreme depth, or at least when I plan on writing the series or in the original version, he didn't have a lot going on. Since this is a spoiler section, I guess I can talk about instead possibly some interactions that end up happening in the series. One of the scenes I want to add early on in the series is Jacob's on his first day, basically, well, not first day, maybe first day, second day, it's unclear. I haven't started the writing phase yet, so it's hard to tell exactly when the timeline is. I still haven't decided how quickly he begins to trust the animatronics, because whenever he trusts the animatronics is when he'll do this. Basically, before this point, he will probably come in with his own coffee, and then when he's finally comfortable with the animatronics and accepts a coffee from them, he has to explain to the animatronics that he needs to consume kosher coffee and kosher creamer, which luckily for them, he brought some since he knew that there was a coffee machine in the building. Unfortunately, he forgot to bring his can opener, and his creamer, in fact, needs a can opener. And he starts like ruffling around the employee only area looking for a can opener until Bonnie appears by himself and approaches Jacob. And Jacob tries to strike a friendly conversation, but this is when Bonnie reveals his twisted nature, basically implying that Jacob is going to die here and that he is screwed, and then proceeds to nonchalantly walk over to his kosher can of creamer and pops the can open with his teeth. And Jacob is just staring because, well, cans are kind of hard to open unless you have something sharp and with a little bit of force. So now he's staring at Bonnie, feeling very threatened, but not saying anything as he gets back to the others. Meanwhile, the others are being relatively friendly, so now he's once again confused whether he should trust the animatronics or not. And the reason why I want a scene like this is I want Jacob to always be on his toes about how to approach the group. Now that I've drawn four of the main cast, aka, Melody, Freddie, Bonnie, Foxy, I'm comfortable enough talking about another scene that I want to kind of add where there's a full-on discussion between these characters. Specifically, a discussion between Freddie, Bonnie, and Foxy, where basically they are caught having a conversation about how likely the night guard is going to die. The thing is, Jake, I haven't drawn her yet and haven't introduced her yet, isn't involved in this scene because I think she'll be busy in the kitchen. But we'll get into that later. Basically, Freddy basically explains that he doesn't want the two to mess with the night guard because they need a night guard to stay open or possible theft might happen. Bonnie retorts that all of them could perfectly handle a thief since they have a security mode. But then Freddy reminds Bonnie that the security mode is considered something they cannot use because of a issue that happened a long time ago. And Jacob is going to overhear this conversation and learn some lore about a security mode that the animatronics have, but has apparently been disapproved by the company. And he will also hear from this conversation Foxy talking about how it's not right to let him work here when he's just going to get hurt, revealing Foxy's softer side, and how Freddy and Bonnie don't seem to care so much about him getting hurt, but just wanting him to be here. Bonnie thinks it's good entertainment, that he's probably going to die here. Freddy doesn't want another death because that means another lawsuit might be coming, but understands the need for the night guard. Meanwhile, Foxy really wants to push them all to scare him off. And Jacob will overhear this through the while walking around from the bathroom. The only reason why they feel comfortable having this conversation is because they know the security camera isn't turned on and that he's not in the office because, like I said, he's in the bathroom. So Jacob writes this down as another note. See, there's going to be a lot of moments where Jacob slowly learns the plot as he just sort of spies around, amateur detective style, even though he's supposed to be a cop slash detective anyways. It's supposed to be, like a fun piece by piece reveal. The audience will probably figure out what's going on before Jacob, because Jacob is a skeptic. Meanwhile, the audience going into anything FNAF related understands like ghosts are real. I'm heading in a more supernatural direction than outright sci-fi, as mentioned before. I mean, obviously there's some sci-fi elements since the animatronics themselves are super intelligent and super sentient, as they are robots well, I mean, technically it's not the future, because if you look at the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline, they are technologically more advanced than us. Despite FNAF 3 taking place basically in 2025 or 2030, I cannot remember, their robots can basically talk within a few years after that, when, Security Breach came out. So, clearly, the robots are more advanced in that world. So, it is a certain level of sci-fi. I much prefer the supernatural side of things than outright sci-fi, so I'm gonna lean more to supernatural for the main plot. Basically, it's just I don't know, a ghost-centric series, but there's talking robots who are part of the character crew. Speaking of ghosts, let's get into what I did with Freddy and Foxy, aka the spirit inside of Bonnie. So Bonnie's spirit is named Jeremy. Yeah, I know. The amount of murdered, mangled, and absolutely mutilated Jeremys in this franchise is extremely high, but I feel like it's tradition to at least have one Jeremy in the series. Besides, when I originally made this AU, when I was in middle school when I made this AU, Jeremy was a fan name for one of the missing kids and not the official name. So back then it was more game to name him Jeremy. So let's get a little bit into Jeremy. Let's start off with the version that existed in the old AU that was never, the one I made in middle school. That version of Jeremy's backstory is, honestly, I think I'm going to keep most of it. Unlike Freddy and Foxy's, where I updated some things, I feel like Jeremy's story is honestly sad, but honestly, I think I'm going to keep it. Let's begin. Jeremy lives with his father, and his father is a single father because his mother died from complications after childbirth. Yes, in the future, there's still those, horrible issues. That childbirth is still dangerous, even with modern medicine. I mean, it's a lot more safe, but, sometimes things happen, especially when you have kids young. And the thing with Jeremy is I've decided that his parents had him young, like they were teenagers. And it looks like I'll have to say the rest in the next episode. Anyways, and with that, another episode comes to a close. See you later, and have a nice day. Bye bye!